All right, here we go. After Effects. How do you get started? First, we're going to look at the interface here. So, um, like any application, we have all of the great menu items along the top here, right, that you would expect out of any application that you are running on a computer. The After Effects menu has preferences. We've covered that already. And how to hide it, how to hide all the other applications if for some reason you want everything else to go away and just leave After Effects, or show everything, or quit. You will not quit After Effects if you're running a Mac by clicking on the red X. Windows people love the red X. You click on it and it quits your application. Everything's gone. Here in a Mac, the red X just closes Windows. So if you're trying to quit After Effects and get out of it, that's not going to work. You have to go to After Effects quit, or the equivalent Command Q. All right. Um, Under the File menu, you get your usual suspects of a file menu. New, this and that. Open a project from your hard drive. There's recent projects listed there. You can browse and bridge. You'll cover that in class, maybe, if you're lucky. Um, closing the project, saving, the stuff you expect to find under a file menu, importing, and so on. We'll get into that detail later on. Under edit, other things that you would expect to find under an edit menu. The history, like undo, redo, that sort of a thing, copy, cut, paste, and there's some extra stuff. You'll cover that in class. We probably won't cover that here under any of our tutorials. Composition is a term that you must understand if you're going to be working in After Effects. A composition is your canvas and your timeline. You can have multiple compositions for every project that you're working on. In fact, you should get used to that. You should get used to a project having many compositions. You can't do anything in After Effects without a composition. We'll cover compositions in a little bit. Layers are something that you should be used to by the time you get into After Effects. You should be used to layers. The idea of a layer in Photoshop or Illustrator or many other programs use layers. Effects are things that you can apply to certain layers. Animation has to deal with uh, techniques and applications to different types of animation that you have in your project. Under View, this is where you can zoom in, zoom out of either your canvas, which is called your composition, or your timeline. You can look at it through different resolutions to make After Effects work faster. You can show guides and grids and all that great stuff. And then under Window, there's lots of windows in After Effects, from Align to things called the Wiggler. You're dying to know what that is, but you're not going to learn that just yet. And then the Help. And this is huge. Help is huge. Oh man. Okay, I've been using After Effects for 12 years. I still find the Help menu to be one of the greatest assets here. If you didn't hear me, I'm going to say it again. The Help menu is awesome. It will answer so many questions you could possibly have about After Effects. Don't be shy. Don't feel like it's cheating. It's really thorough and very helpful, hence the word help. You're going to be in class for only an hour and a half or 2 hours at a time. What's going to happen when there's no teacher around or no TA? You're on your own. And this is where you should go if you have a question or a problem or you're trying to remember something about a certain topic or place um, that we covered in class. So help is big. And what you should do is just don't worry about the search deal. Just go right to After Effects help. Um, that is money. And there's lots of other things that are good here, like the keyboard shortcuts or um, back to the tips of the day if you think that's a handy thing. Which there are some nice things there, like press V for the move tool, but you're going to find more of a benefit from just going to help, probably. Okay, so the interface of After Effects. There are all these windows that are a part of the package here. And it's divided up in a certain way in which eventually it will make great sense to you. But if you've never opened up After Effects, never been here, maybe it's a little foreign. But along the top here, you have your toolbar. And these are all tools that you can use while you work on your project. And uh, the only two that I have available right now are the selection tool and the hand tool. Until I actually get involved in a project that has a composition, which means my canvas and my timeline, none of these tools will be available. But as soon as I start one, um, I'll have access to most of these. Some of them still will be unavailable until you enter the world of 3D or something like that. So the toolbar is right there. Below that is your project window. And my project window is currently highlighted in yellow. The project window is where you will have access to all of the source media that you use in a project. So any Photoshop files or still images, JPEGs, whatever, QuickTime movies, audio files, anything that you want to use in your After Effects project is going to be stored here in your project bin. The project bin also is home to anything that you create inside of After Effects. So as soon as I create a composition, which is my initial canvas and timeline where all the magic happens, that composition will also become an item that is listed inside this project window. You can add folders and get very organized here, and that's something that we really try to stress to the media arts students, is to stay organized and to put this stuff into some sort of um, you know well, organized manner in which you can keep track of where things are and where you're at in your project. um, Usually in this window it's bundled with another panel called the effects controls, which you may or may not see right away, but they usually put those two together here. And little things to look for are like little sliders. Oh man, it's so thin, but it's up there. There's a little slider and it allows me to slide back and forth between my project tab and my effects controls tab. And depending on what kind of computer you're using and how you have your windows arranged, it may be something that you have to slide back and forth to access, or maybe you have enough room um, and you can do that. The project window is going to be where everything you have in your project is listed. It'll just be listed here alphabetically under name. And the very bottom of this window, we have several buttons. Interpret footage, we're going to ignore it, pretend it's not there. That's another story. We have a folder button, which is where you could click on the folder and make one called like audio. So that's where you might stash all the audio for your project. Maybe I make another folder and oh, that one's inside of audio. I'll fix that in a second. I'm going to call this one stills, but it's inside audio. I'm just going to drag it out. There we go. Maybe I have another folder called QuickTimes. I'll call it QT for QuickTimes. So this is just part of the organization process that I was talking about here. It's very nice to have things stashed into special places that make sense to you so that you can go in and find everything. All right, buttons. The next button, create a new composition. I'm going to get into that in the next video, so I'm going to skip that for now. What kind of a bit depth we're dealing with. We're going to be pretty much working in 8, so no big deal. And then the trash can, if you want to get rid of something or throw it away, trash can is your hero, and you can just select something and be like, you know what, QuickTime folder, well, I'm not working with any, let's just get rid of it. Click on the trash can and it goes away. Then we have the composition panel. And this panel is where all the money happens visually. So this is where you're going to end up seeing all of your work. Right now, I don't have a composition set up, so I'm not seeing anything. But this window is where all of that great, beautiful motion graphic and animation work is going to take place visibly. All of the work for that is going to occur down here in the timeline. And so the bottom panel here that I have highlighted now in yellow is a timeline, and this is where you're going to be working with all of your layers to have certain things moving or changing shape or whatever, some sort of progression over time where the animation and the motion graphic action is going to occur. And there are a lot of buttons that go in with both of these windows, which I'll touch in the next video. But that is basically the interface of After Effects. There are a few things to look at under a window and workspace. And workspace has different types of layouts for these panels. And they're going to open up a lot of different extra goodies that we'll be working with eventually. But generally you start off with standard, and standard has the project window, the comp window, and the timeline, and then a few other things. I got rid of mine just for the sake of saving some space while I do these movies, but if you were to go to any of these extra workspaces, things will change and shift slightly. You'll get different panels, different window arrangements, and so on. But if you ever end up changing it and you want to go back to where you first originally started, they have these things down here called reset. So I could say, oh, let's reset standard, and that's going to say, are you sure? And I'll say, yeah, yep, I'm positive. And now standard for me opens up several other panels where I have my info, my preview window, and my effects and presets. But if I were to choose different workspaces, that will all change. It will end up being a different set of panels or a different arrangement. We'll hit that in another video too. All right, so there's that. Good luck.